Test 1, 2, 3. Greetings.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Can we please stand for prayers, please? Prayer time for the Stay at refuge in Allah from Satan their affairs. Surely I have been turned by thee, O Allah, striving to be upright, to him who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not of equality. Surely my prayer and my sacrifice, my life and my death are all for him, the Lord of the world. No associate as he, and this are my command, and I am not those who suffer. O Allah, thou art the king. There is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I've been greatly unjust to myself, and I confess my fault. So please, grant me protection against all my faults, for none grants protection against faults but thee. And guide me to the best of morals, for none guides to the best of morals but thee. And turn away from me the evil and indecent morals, for none can turn away from me the evil and indecent morals but thee. O Allah, bless Muhammad, and bless the true followers of Muhammad, as thou didst bless Abraham and the true followers of Abraham. Surely thou art praised Muhammad. O Allah, make Muhammad successful, and make the true followers of Muhammad successful, as thou didst make Abraham and the true followers of Abraham successful. For surely thou art praised and magnified. Amen. Amen. Assalamu alaikum, my brothers and sisters. Please see to in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, the great Mahdi, to whom praise is due forever. I thank him for coming among us and raise one from among us, the first begotten of the dead, the true Messiah and exalted Christ, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I further thank them for placing one in our midst, a divine servant of theirs, a true leader, teacher, and guide for us in the person of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. In their holy and righteous name, I greet my brothers and my sisters with the greeting word of peace of Assalamu alaikum. Eid Mubarak to you, my brothers and sisters. Yes, ma'am. Brothers and sisters, today is a Super Sunday, a day that the sisters will be delivered. And sorry, happy Mother's Day to you, my sister. Yes, ma'am. And the sister's going to deliver today, my brothers and sisters, for those of us who love our mother so much. And every day is a Mother Day. The sisters, they will deliver and let us know the importance of being a woman and the roles that they play in today's world and even the world before, because we are Asiatic people, and the Asiatic people used to do godly things. But this new world has changed that role of the female, and it's become a man-dominating world. So my brothers and sisters, the sisters, they will put us back on the track that we need to go. But today is Ramadan, and is the last day of the Ramadan, my brothers and sisters. So I just want to make mention of the fast and the importance of the fast that we are in at this time, my brothers and sisters. So I just want to read from a scripture very quickly. I'm not going to take up the sisters' time. And hear what Jesus said about this important fast. In the book of Matthew 6 and the 16th verse, it read, "Moreover, when he fasts, be not as the hypocrites of a sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces, that they may appear unto men to fast. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. But thou, when thou fastest, anoint thy head, and wash thy face, that thou appear not unto men to fast, but unto thy Father which is in secret. And thy Father, which seeth in secret, shall reward thee openly. Lay not up for yourself treasures upon earth, where moth and rust that corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourself treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust that corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." My brothers and sisters, here Jesus is telling us that the fasting is so good, but we, by our fasting, we must be more one with the Father. We must focus. These are the times that we're going to break bad habits out of our behavior, my brothers and sisters. These are the times that we leave all worldly things and we stick to the things of God. I just want to say to my brothers and sisters that in the book of Matthew 4 and the first verse to the 10th verse, Jesus done a 40 days fast and 40 nights. And after that fasting, the first thing that approached to Jesus was Satan. And Satan, he come and he tests Jesus after that fast. We are in Ramadan at this moment, my brothers and sisters. And know for sure that you are going to be tested. And what Satan tested Jesus with, the first he said, "If thou be the Son of God, command this stone to be bread." The second test is said, "Then the devil taketh him up into a city, and setteth him on a pinnacle of the temple. He bring him into that big house of his, and said, Cast thyself down, for it is written that his angel is in charge of him. They will save him." But the third test, he taken up into the mountain and offer him the city, and asked Jesus to serve him. But Jesus rebuked him in all of these matters, my brothers and sisters. And after Jesus rebuked him, "Satan, get thee behind me." We look into this, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan being tested, my brother and sisters. The Jews test him and asked him and offered him the words and said, "If you will change the teaching, Minister Farrakhan, only talk about yourself. Don't talk about Master Farad Muhammad and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and you will write with us." Minister Farrakhan, he stick to the scripture. They asking him, "Minister Farrakhan, we will give you the world if you will only submit it to our ways." And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says, "Satan, get thee behind me." My brothers and sisters, today, we are not going to make the things of this world get in our way, because we are fasting to be the way of God. My brothers and sisters, in the book of Matthew, 19 and the 16th verse to the 21st. There was a young man, very rich. He came to Jesus and he said, good master, what can I do to inherit eternal life? Jesus looked at this man and said, why callest thou me good? There is none good but the Father. And Jesus now began to demonstrate to the man, if you want to enter into eternal life, I'm saying to you, my brothers, you have to love your enemy as yourself. You have to love your neighbor as yourself. Sorry, my brothers and sisters. Do good to others. Honor your mothers and your father. And the man looked at Jesus and said, but I've been doing these all my life. And Jesus looked at the man and he said, well, sell all what you have and bring it and give it to the poor. When Jesus looked around, the man wasn't there. He gone, brothers and sisters. All praises due to Allah. We are at this time in our fast, my brothers and sisters, that we stick to the ways of God, because God has promised us in Matthew 6 that lay treasure in heaven. And we will be benefited if we only stick to the way of God. Here, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he hold on to what Master Farad Muhammad gave to the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we see a man in our midst overcome this world. We see his life, that good shepherd. Wheresoever we go, the sheep follows. And I don't mean a 10 or 100 or 1,000. They're following by the millions today, my brothers and sisters. And if we want to only be like him, let us just submit ourselves to his words. Because the word is God, and the word is with God, and it manifests in us. My brothers and sisters, this is my time, and I will call to the rostrum Sister Andrea X. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is but one God, whose name is Allah, and that he came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, the Holy Great Mahdi, who were it not for him, certainly none of us would be here today, and we would not be professing that the God is interested in the affairs of us and that we have a promising and great future. I further bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the eternal leader of the nation of Islam, the very first begotten of the dead, prime example for us if we would only recognize. I also bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the best friend you could ever ask for today, our personal connection to the God, were it not for his sacrifice, certainly we would not be here. And certainly we would not know the truth that we have of the God that has come. So it's my honor and my privilege today. We've come out of a month of fasting and discipline, as our brother Edwin, spoke about. A time of placing ourselves under such discipline in order to generate power, in order that we can achieve and put our minds and determine our will and be more powerful and successful than we have ever been. So I greet you all in the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. And Eid Mubarak. Okay, celebration time. Okay, so we're here today. It's our Super Sister Sunday. And we're very excited to bring to you some of the powerful minds that are coming up out of the Nation of Islam's women's class. Today, we're addressing the subject of why only one day for mother. In addressing this subject, we have to be scientific and really have a deep look and analysis at the quality really of our mothering and what it is we need to do and what it is we must do in order that we achieve and produce the great future that we know we will desire. So that is part of what we're going to be unearthing today. And I'm really just I'm giving you a cursory overview of some of what we're going to be discussing today. We have within our Nation of Islam, one of our beautiful sisters, our dear sister, Dr. Ava Muhammad. And she said that the experience of being a mother is the experience of being a God in the lives of your children. Just think about that. So as a God in the life of your children, we have the power as mothers towards good and evil. So as we look around society today and we look and we see what is happening. Now, this is a challenging subject matter. It's a challenge to even look at scientifically the situation and the state of our communities, to look at how are we mothering, what can be done and what must be done. But we're prepared for the challenge. This is what we must do. In order that we get the great future, we have to go through and analyze and become scientific. Okay. Let's look at motherhood. When does the preparation for motherhood begin? It begins now. It begins now. This world likes to tell us that it begins a month or two before we're intending on conceiving. They tell us, you can take some folic acid and some iron tablets and you'll be good. But that's a lie. You will be producing more of what we've already produced. In fact, when we look at the preparation for mothering, it actually began with your grandmother. I know that many of you will know that the female is born with all the eggs she will ever have. So that means that your grandmother had within her womb when she was born the egg that formed your mother, that had within the egg that formed you. So when we think about this science, we should know that we don't have time to mess about. The time for preparation begins now. The male is not like the female. The male produces sperm on a daily basis, but the female is born with all the eggs she will ever have. So we don't have time for eating the wrong foods. We don't have time for drinking, partying. We don't have time for eating and feasting on lower vibrational thoughts and wasting time. Think about what we mother. We have the power to impact our children's children. So we need to get right on it, right? Listen to this quote here that the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan, in his monumental lecture series, How to Give Birth to a God, what he shared with us. He said, and quote, "You do not fill this beautiful form with garbage, because the more you poison this body, it begins to affect you, so that when you reach puberty, you already have an egg that is destined to be a weakling, because you didn't nurture yourself from the best that is in the earth. You nurtured yourself from filth and debris. So what can you produce but what you nursed yourself from? Do you hear me?" End of quote. So we see the preparation must begin right now. Okay, so we're discussing why only one day for mother. We can see with this scientific evidence that it's a travesty that we are celebrating, or we're encouraged to spend one day out of the year celebrating mother with all of the science that is evident. And this is why we're asking the question, why only one day for mother? We have to develop, in order for us to improve the quality of our mothering, a revolutionary mindset, a mindset that goes against the grain of what Satan's world is encouraging us and is planning for us. We must now take charge and actually have accept the responsibility, because that's what it is. It's a huge responsibility for our community, and actually to start building self first and then reaching out to others. So in the Nation of Islam, we have our general orders, okay? And those who know that the Nation of Islam is a military organization with a structure, with discipline, and we have our orders. And the first general order is to take charge of this post and all temple property in view. So what does this really mean? And are we really understanding what it means to actually take responsibility, not just for yourself, but for your community? This is the reach of mother. Okay. All right. And this is also what we are being trained to do in the Nation of Islam, which is why we have, you know, many courses and classes that we put on. We have culinary workshops. We have youth programs, sewing workshops. We have our self-improvement courses that are open and available to everybody in order that we can build up self, in order so we can have a more expansive reach, a more power potential to have the effects that we want to have and see in the world, where we can say be and it is. Okay. So as mothers, we're natural nurturers. We naturally are the incubators of ideas and of physical life. But what are we actually nurturing? This is another aspect of the difficult subject matter that we have to address. What is it that we're nurturing? And when we look around the world today and see what we're producing, then there is some analysis that needs to take place, some examination that needs to take place in order that we can carve out a way of actually remedying what we are seeing. We know that today we're dissatisfied. Are we dissatisfied with the conditions that we see?
Oh, yeah.
Not enough, you say? Dissatisfied. But what does that mean? If we're dissatisfied, it means that there's something that we must do. There's too much of us actually waiting for change to happen, as opposed to being the person that creates the change.
Go ahead.
This is a part of that revolutionary mindset that we must have. We cannot just sit and accept and sit and wait. We have to be the ones that are doing something different so that we create the change that we want to see. It's time out for accepting Satan's programming. Yeah, what do you say? Have we had enough? So, time out for that. It's time for us to put together our own programs. It's time for us to come together with like-minded people and determine what is it we want to see and how we're going to go about it. Okay, awesome. And also think about creating a culture that more reflects our nature. Yeah? Okay. Okay. I know that, and many of you will know that Prophet Muhammad, you know, he was asked by one of his companions, after God, who do I worship? And he was told, mother. And the companion asked him again, okay, so after mother, then who? And he was told mother a second time. And the companion was insistent, he was persistent. He says, okay, so after mother, who then? And Prophet Muhammad told him again, mother. He said, okay, so then after mother, then who? Okay, then after mother, mother, then father. Okay, so what does this show us? This shows us that wise men have know and have always known the great, tremendous impact that mothers have. So we're going to address their question. Why only one day for mother? Whose idea was this? Okay. All right, so now just setting some of the tone for some of what we're going to discuss today and what we must do now that we know the truth and what are our marching orders. When we leave this meeting, we will have some ideas of things that we can do in order to improve the situation. So now as we move further in our program, we have powerful sisters that are going to present for you today and coming up out of our class. Sisters that have the revolutionary mindset to not only see and assess where things are not perfect and can be improved, but actually are actively involved in creating the solution to the problems that we see. This is the definition of taking accountability. This is the definition of being responsible. And this is what we must do today, mothers and fathers. This is what we must do today. So as family, please join me in welcoming to the rostrum our dear student regional assistant minister, Sister Maxine Mohammed.
In the most holy name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I too bear witness there is no God but Allah, who came to us in the person of Master Farooq Muhammad, to whom all holy praise is due forever. We would be nowhere if it were not for the coming of one who traveled 9,000 miles from the east, who had a heart, such a heart full of love for us as Black people, you know, that he did not want us to remain languishing in the West, in the wilderness, in the wild, wild West. So he came and he found one in whom he could pour himself, a willing vessel who knew him when they first met. And that is Elijah Paul, he was known as Kareem, he evolved to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the eternal leader of the nation of Islam. But we would not know, and let me say, the exalted Christ.
Okay.
We may not be familiar with that concept, but we haven't got time to teach on it today. But we know that this man was the most powerful Black man in the wilderness of North America. And that is what the enemy wrote of him, you know, and he was not defeated by the enemy. All leaders that have stood up for us, at some point, they've bowed and bucked and scratched and, you know, capitulated to the enemy, or been taken out by the enemy, assassinated, murdered, killed. You know, so when we have a man that is able to stand up against the wiles of Satan, against an enemy who wants to take his life, but Allah protects him, then that is a man that we have to pay attention to.
100%.
And the son, the spiritual son of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, if it were not for him, the Messiah in our midst, one who has come to save us from the wretched condition that we find ourselves in as a people and humanity as a whole. Sister spoke about dissatisfaction. Dissatisfaction has reached up to the horse's bridle. You know, it's reached up to our neck, you know, and we are about to blast, you know, because we want a change. You know, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan stood on the shoulders of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and rebuilt the nation of Islam, restored that which the enemy tried to annihilate. You know, the minister stood up and we are here today. All praises are due to Allah for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So it gives me pleasure, brothers and sisters, to greet you in the greeting words of peace and paradise of Assalamu alaikum and Eid Mubarak. Praise be to Allah. I just want to, yes, I must. Our dear Brother Abdul Hakim Muhammad, who is the Student Regional Minister for the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan throughout the European region. So we just want to thank our brother for the opportunity to actually share a few words with us today. As our sister said, and brother really gave us the title, Why Only One Day for Mother? You know, this is a question. It's like you read the question and then you have to ask the question again, you know, because there's something in the question that if we don't approach it right, then we will miss the point. You know, so brother, in posing this question to us, really made it a challenge for us to deliver this message from a perspective that is new, you know, and to give us something really as women to seriously think about, but also for us as a family to think about, okay? So before I continue, and this has been really a part of a series, you know, building up to this point, because our brother has been speaking a lot about the female. He's been speaking a lot about the womb. You know, he's been speaking a lot about the science of creating life, you know, and today, or last week rather, I spoke a lot about power, and I have to correct before I continue something that I said last week, which was pointed out to me. And I thank the brother who pointed it out to me for pointing it out, because we say mistakes will be made, but they won't exist. Okay. So I said something like power is force times distance, something like that I said. And the actual equation for power is energy divided by time. All right. And power is equals work, energy, force, distance. That is the real definition, the scientific definition of power. So I want us to keep this in mind as we go through this little discourse that we're having today. And we want to welcome those of our brothers and sisters who are viewing us virtually online, on Zoom, and our Facebook audience also. So we've come to the end of Ramadan, as Brother Edwin was speaking about and as our sister spoke about. And for all Muslims around the world, where we can, we are celebrating Eid, because we know as we stand here and as we sit here, you know, in our various places of abode or wherever we are on the planet, there are thousands upon thousands of Muslims that are suffering in Palestine, you know, that were not able to go through Ramadan in the way that they would have desired to go through Ramadan, you know, and are unable to celebrate Eid in the way that we will celebrate Eid, you know. So we always keep our suffering brothers and sisters in our minds and in our hearts, you know, and don't get carried away, you know, with that which we are blessed with, and not remember those who are less fortunate than us. All praise is due to Allah. So one of the great things that we can do, one of the greatest things that we can do, brothers and sisters, is to ask a question. You know, ask a question. You know, we're taught ask questions and learn all about yourself. So I asked a question to my husband this morning. And the question that I asked was, what, if anything, does Eid have to do with Mother's Day? Is there a link there? Is there a link there? And brother said to me, and this is, anyway, I won't go there. But brother said to me that it's not only Eid and Mother's Day, it is also the first day of the summer season, the new season. All right? So the convergence of these three commemorations, if you will, Mother's Day, Eid, which is a festival of renewal. Eid means recurring happiness. Now, with the level of dissatisfaction that we have, you know, particularly for us as members of the Nation of Islam, because this is our work to change the world, you know, how happy can we be in the state that the world is in? How happy can you and I be? So the process of establishing happiness is a process that we have to engage in. All right, so let me get back to the convergence of Eid being a festival of renewal and the spring solstice or whatever they call it, the summer season, this being the first day where we've entered into a season where new life is coming to the earth. You know, you see the blossoms on the trees. You see what was barren, what looked like barren trees, you know, devoid of their leaves and their foliage. We see them coming to life, you know, and Mother's Day, you know, the significance of that with Mother's Day, you know, and do we really understand, you know, the concept of mother, you know, beyond the female is bigger than that. It is absolutely bigger than that. So why does this world only give us one day out of 365 days? Our concept has to change because this world, in giving us one day, is really diminishing and undermining the real concept of mother and what a mother is and what mother does, male and female. Male and female. Now, even though we say mother, you know, we don't, you know, we rush to see our mothers and buy flowers and chocolates. And for the remainder of the year, we hardly give mother another less than substantive and mediocre recognition. Okay? Now, we may say, as we do, and it is true, that every day is Mother's Day. You know, we say, okay, to combat, let's say, the world's view and the world's culture that Mother's Day is just one day, we combat that by saying Mother's Day is every day. But is that just a cliche? Are we just parroting a cliche? Okay. So, you know, for us who are blessed to have our mothers alive today, our grandmothers, we need to take another look at mother as we're giving her the flowers, as we're giving her the chocolates, as we're cooking a meal for our mothers. We need to take another look at mother. Okay. Now, there's a scripture in the Bible where it says in 2 Timothy, and it warns us against associating with people who have the form of godliness, but are denying the power thereof. So remember the definition of power: work, energy, force, distance. And it goes on to say in this scripture, from such turn away. For of this sort are they which creep into houses and lead captive silly women, laden with sins, led away with diverse lusts, ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of truth. You know, so we may have a knowledge of truth, but what is the purpose for the knowledge if we are not putting the knowledge of truth into practice, into manifest concrete reality? This is why, as my sister said from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that the woman has to stop being the devil's woman, tied to the sins and lusts of this world. We have the truth in the Nation of Islam of what the enemy of God and his righteousness has done to us. And we have the truth of the power of woman and mother. This is what we're here to tell you today, brothers and sisters. We closed out our Quran reading this morning, and one of the chapters that we read is entitled Al-Bayina, which means the clear evidence. And as I was reflecting on the level of dissatisfaction that we have and our power to change things, you know, I was reminded of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's message in thinking about us as women, in particular, in this context, let me say, as I'm speaking now, of what we have suffered in this world and the heaviness of mother, you know, the heaviness of the womb of the mother, seeing her children, you know, being murdered by our children. Do you understand? Yes, you know, and the weight that we carry in our minds and the stress that we carry, something has to change. Something must change. You know, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, I was saying that I was reminded of the minister's message, the war of Armageddon has already begun. And at the start of that message, he said that we're in for a rough ride. And then he said, but I'm looking at the rough riders. I'm looking at the rough riders, you know, because we are the descendants of those who have sacrificed, bled, and died so that we can be here today. You know, and a mother is an idea, a concept that furthers the struggle and lifts up the struggle on her and his shoulders to actually take it further. So as we're looking at our mothers, we're looking at past, present, and future perfect. We're not to do the same as our mothers and fathers have done before us. We're not to do the same. We're not to, all praises are due to Allah. We're not to join on to the culture of this world. We are, as our sister said, to produce a new culture. And how do you produce a new culture? It means that you have to redefine everything that the enemy has taught you and has taught us. All praises are due to Allah. This educational system of this world, the religious systems of this world, all of them do not equip us with the requisite knowledge that we need to overcome this enemy that has got the world and humanity in the condition that it is in the condition that we are in. We are literally going around in circles, you know, never breaking out of the filthy stream of white supremacy. We have a flag. We have a flag, the sun, moon, and star. We have an anthem, 400 years slaving from the devil, lost from our own. Brothers and sisters, it's a new day today. It's a new season, a new mother, a new father, a new definition given to us by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and his father, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we thank Allah for our brother, Student Minister Abdul Hakim Muhammad, because he really challenges us to go beyond the repetition and the baby language, really baby language. We're mature people, you know, and we have to get on a fast track now, you know, to actually accomplish, you know, what our ancestors died for. We are an extension of them. So Let me go. Everybody all right?
Yes.
Praise be to Allah. This world gives us nothing. Like the crumbs, you know, Mother's Day, here, have a day, have a day. These are the crumbs from the enemy's table, you know, and we like, and I wanted to like get a, a female alternative, let's say, to Lazarus. You know, we were studying it and we come up with these names, you know, but we're like Lazarus, female Lazaruses and male Lazaruses, picking up the crumbs from the white man's table in terms of what he has given us. And we're not taking control of our own destiny and our own future. The Honourable Minister Farrakhan asked the question, why must we control the education of our children? Why must we do that? Because if we allow them to go into these killing fields, then we're going to see more death. We're going to see more miseducation.
Yes.
And if a mother is the first teacher, then take up the responsibility of teaching your children. You know, setting up something in your homes, pooling your resources, train a partner, doing whatever you need to do, raise the money, rent a building so other mothers can come together with their children. Okay. So instead of mothering our children, we're actually smothering our children. We're actually strangling the life out of our children. You know, when we continue the same old, you know, we suffocate them by buying them things. You know, we suffocate them by adopting the styles of this world and putting them on our children. You know, we suffocate our children, we smother our children, we rob them of life when we fashion our children. You know, young girls, you know, 12, not even reached their teens yet, showing their breasts, you know, showing the form of their body, you know, legs out, you know, uncovered, naked before the world. We have to stop this madness. We really do. And I'm speaking to all of us, you know, because the responsibility is on all of us, because whether we have children or not, we are mothers of civilization. What civilization? Certainly not this one. We don't want to perpetuate this madness. The civilization is the new civilization. It's God's kingdom of righteousness that is on the earth. It's not coming, it is here. And we are evidence of that. And we are not, we have made a determination that we are not going to continue this madness. So, as we said, and our Sister Andrea pointed out, you know, that mother in this world is viewed as a status that is achieved after childbirth. But that's too late. And that's only a small part of what a mother is, you know, because a mother is a creator. She's an innovator. You know, she sees a field and she purchases that field. She creates an environment so when she has children, you know, her children are born into that new environment, not into the enemy's world that has shaped us in sin and iniquity, but a world and an environment in which we can actually live. You know, our righteousness can actually be buttressed and supported by what we build. Okay. So when we look at mother again, mother is God's assistant. And when we look at the word assistant, Just going to get it up on my phone. I had to write out my notes this morning because my printer was playing up. So a lot of what was on my mind and is on my mind, I have to go to my phone. Okay, so let me just get this definition because it's something to look at. And we spoke about last week how important it is to properly define words, because we speak a lot of words, but do we know what we're actually saying?
What is it standing for?
You know? So, okay. So an assistant is second in command. An assistant is a right-hand person. An assistant is a personal helper.
Go ahead.
Okay. An assistant is an apprentice. So they're going through a course of study to qualify themselves to actually get us to be certified to carry out a particular function.
Good.
An assistant is a collaborator.
Please listen.
Okay. So let's look at it in terms of assisting Allah in God's will and in his desire in this time to make all things new. Now, I had to take like a recce of myself, you know, and looking inward, but also looking outward and looking at the time, because as you know, we were saying earlier, is that power is energy divided by time. So we have to look at how we're using our time.
Listen up.
Okay. Now, we have a 24-hour day. We work, some of us may work 5 days a week. And that is 120 hours in a week. Okay. Now, over that week, they say, you know, in terms of hours that you should get for sleep, they say 8 hours sleep is what is recommended in this world.
Go ahead.
All right. So if you reduce, it's looking just at the 5 days that we spend with furthering the enemy's world.
No.
Okay. So 120 hours, 7 hours sleep over those 5 days is 35 hours. So that reduces that 120 hours to 85 hours. Okay. And then so what's left is 50 hours in your week, 10 hours a day. Is that enough time to build a world, to build a new reality, you know, when the enemy is on his job 24/7? So is it any wonder, brothers and sisters, that we're in the condition that we are in?
No one. No one.
And what can we do and what must we do to start to address that imbalance? Now, I'm not saying, you know, that we need to give up the enemy's job tomorrow. If we can, we should. You know, and if we can't tomorrow, we've got to be thinking about it the next day, and the next day, so that we can fully extricate ourselves and dedicate ourselves, be of those who are devoted, committed. Separation is more important than prayer. Okay. So we give the best of ourselves to furthering the enemy's world. And we don't, we have to, like, how can we fight back? How can we carve out? How can we use our time better?
That's right.
You know, we come from a God. We come from a God
Even
that is always on his post. He does not sleep. Do we need 7 hours? I would say no. We don't need 7, 8 hours to sleep. If we're serious about our business, we will get up in the night,
that word.
pray to Allah, and start working and get busy so that we have more hours in the day. We will stop eating filthy foods so that we can have more energy. Okay, we will clean up our thoughts. We will clean up our bodies so that Allah can use us and give us energy. Don't you see the Honorable Minister Farrakhan? Even when he is under the weather, you know, not 100%, he don't make no excuses to come and speak to us. We're too weak. We're too weak. Seriously. We have to be stronger, you know, and we have to have more life. We can't be looking, you know, my sister said she was looking tired, feeling tired, but she don't look tired because her mind is not focusing on being tired. She's here, you know, doing her work, right? So we have to get away from really stifling the life that is in us and the power that God wants to give us, you know, in and through our own being, you know, and it starts with having a proper conversation with the self, you know. And what is the self? The self is the self that God gave you, you know, not how this world defines us. Okay, so our nature, you know, sister spoke about our nature, but our nature is being interfered with today. And if we do not fight back, then we will have nothing of ourselves to recover. We won't have anything, you know, and our children won't have anything because we will be producing weak sperm, weak eggs. Do you know what I mean? After the grafting, we will be grafting devils. You know, we will be birthing devils, weak bone, weak blood, that can't stand up to anything, that can't stand up to the enemy.
That's right.
Because we're not teaching them, we're not feeding them right, we're not nourishing them right, we're not nurturing them right, based upon the truth that we have been given in this teaching from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. All praise are due to Allah. So what does the scripture say?
Okay.
You know, the Rasta man talks about Babylon. We must come out of Babylon. We must come out of Babylon, you know, not partake of her sins and her plagues. We've had enough of that, and we're sick to our stomach, in truth, you know, with what we see happening to our people and humanity as a whole. Is this, you know, we've come up out of Eid. We've come up out of Eid. We're out of Ramadan, excuse me. We're in Eid now. But what have we learned? How new are we? How are we going to go forward from here? Was it just a ritual? You know, that we said, oh, Ramadan went fast, you know, it went fast. You know, and can't wait for Eid so that we can celebrate. Celebrate what? Celebrate what?
Good teachings in the vaccine.
All praises are due to Allah. As long as the enemy of our independent rise of our people can process his mind in and through us, then whatever we birth from our wombs, because the brothers have a womb also, this mind, whatever we birth from, and it is the brain that produces the sperm. Okay, so whatever we, whoever has got hold of our minds, if the enemy has our minds, then that's what we're going to produce. Okay, so if we love, this is why we must come out, brothers and sisters. We must come out. But how are we going to come out?
Okay.
We can't unless we have a teacher. And we have a teacher. We have one that has been sent. You know, in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, we have his representative,
Yeah.
our brother, student Minister Abdul Hakim Muhammad.
Yes.
We have throughout our whole nation of Islam, brothers and sisters that are examples for us.
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying? And we have in this region, I must say it, because I've known brother for over 30 years. I've had now, don't go guessing about my age or anything like that. But anyway, I've known him for a long time. Okay. I've known brother for a long time. And I've always said, you know, in my estimation, that he has been the greatest representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in this country.
Come on.
And that is not just in words, but it is the works of our brother.
That's right.
You know, brother is a mother. He's always creating. He's always thinking about what we can do that is new and innovative for our region.
That's all right.
We're not necessarily to follow after what we see, you know, happening in other places, because when we first met the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and we sat at his table and we were pleading for leadership, he said, your leadership will come right up from among you, you know, and we're not like our brothers and sisters in America. We're not like our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean. We're not like our brothers and sisters on the mother continent, Africa.
Okay.
You know, we're different. We've been reared up in the belly of the beast. We know this enemy. We know how he functions. We can see him in a hint. You know, we can see him before he even approaches us.
That's right.
You know, that's why we have sentinels on guard, not necessarily on these posts, but in ourselves. Listen,
Okay.
once we know God and we know this enemy, then we have an internal guard, an internal sentinel that stands to attention.
Yes.
You know, and as it says in the Quran, that the enemy tries to steal a glimpse, tries to come among us, and he's met with a flaming fire to take him out. Brothers and sisters, it's no time to play today. We have to check him at the door. We have to check him at the door. We have to check him at the door. You know, and when we speak foolishness, because sometimes the enemy's going to come out, right? That's what happened with Peter, right? When Jesus said to him, "Get thee behind me, Satan,"
He said,
because he heard foolishness coming out of his disciple.
yes.
He was his disciple. Check that. But Jesus still had to check him and put him on the right path.
Right.
Get his mind right, get his thinking right. You know, so when we challenge one another, it's not personal. It really isn't. It's about God today.
Yes.
And it's about God, seeing the God within, developing the God within, so that we can manifest the God without. So, you know, I was thinking about you know, the processing, just going back to that point, the processing of the enemy's mind through us. so that we produce after him. You know, the time that we give to the enemy's world, you know, so that we further his way instead of our way, you know, and the creativity that we have, you know, somewhat gets stifled, you know, because we're not giving it enough attention and consistency. I think one of the greatest issues that we have is consistency, because even if we have a small amount of time, if we remain consistent and disciplined, you know, and this is really what, you know, people say they don't want to join the Nation of Islam because the Nation of Islam is too disciplined. I mean, why are we running from discipline? You know, we're crazy. We're all over the place. You know, thoughts here, there, and everywhere. You know, doing this and that. We need discipline. We need some discipline. We need some order. You know, the first law in the universe is motion. The second is order. So we have to bring ourselves under a law and a code of conduct that generates discipline, you know, and that helps us to build consistency, you know, in what we're doing. So I was thinking about, you know, the processing. We see so many examples of what not to be, how not to be the enemy's woman, you know, and we look at Kemi Badenoch, you know, and, you know, we've spoken of our sister before, and this is not personal.
No, man. No, man.
This is not personal, but it's an illustration of what happens
That's right.
when we allow ourselves to marry onto that which is not of us and has no benefit for us. And then they process, they know that the Black woman is the mother of civilization.
Go ahead.
Right. And the enemy desires to continue his and extend himself through the womb of the Black woman.
That's right.
All right. So, you know, our sister was in Parliament recently,
Listen up.
and she was speaking about the thousands of Ukrainians that this government has helped.
Yeah.
You know, and but then, is it this government or the Labour government? Right, the Tories have yeah, because it was under the Tories that they created this scheme where Ukrainians could come in. Right, right. Thank you, brother. And the Labour government now has allowed one Palestinian family, you know, and she's got to come into the UK and receive some benefits. She's got an issue with this one Palestinian family. Are you serious? You look like a fool before the world. This is why the Bible speaks of silly women. Silly women. You know, the Honourable Minister... We are not silly women in the Nation of Islam. We're awakened to the reality of what is happening in this world. We don't shy away. You know, the Honourable Minister Farrakhan actually said to us that we have to keep up to date with current affairs.
That's right. Indeed.
We're at war. We're at war. And it is a war for the minds of our people that are stuck and wallowing in ignorance. Okay? Not because we don't know, but not because some of us don't know. We do know, you know, but we have denied the knowledge that has come to us.
Right.
We're denying it. And if we deny the truth that has come to us, then there's no happy ending for us in this journey of life. There was a sister who was the face, a young Black sister, who was the face of the British Army. She was in all the adverts, you know, went into the army, suffered severe racism, you know, and is being compensated now. The enemy, this world is preparing for a war. World War III, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan said the war of Armageddon has already started. If you and I, as mothers, as fathers, do not take stock on this Mother's Day and every day going forward of what we must do to save ourselves and our children from the schemes and plans, you know, they want to, our children to, because they ain't got nothing for them to do. They are recruiting us to fight on their battlefields. For what? For what? And we receive nothing? No, we've got our own battles to fight. We've got our own battles to fight. Now, as I bring my talk to a close, because as you saw on the flyer, there was 3 of us that are scheduled to come and speak today. And I want our sister Sylvina, who's traveled all the way from Birmingham to come and share a few words with us in a moment. You know, Sister is a very powerful, and I say that in the context of power, right? Okay. So, you know, let's be clear, excuse me, let's be clear on what we're speaking about today. Okay. And look at the examples that are amongst us. You know, I am so grateful for all the sisters that I have met in my life, because each of them, present, those who are not present, and those who I will meet, have added to me, added something to me, you know, because we don't focus on the worst part. We always focus on the best part. We always focus on the best part. And before I bring my sister up, I just want to share something with us. And I hope the sister is online, because she says she couldn't make it today, but I hope that my sister is online. And I went to a funeral some time ago for a sister called Audrey Adams, whose son was murdered by racists, okay? And this sister, Audrey Adams, she fought for justice for her son, not just for her son, but for all of our sons, you know, and her life Roland Adams, thank you, brother. Her life became meaningful, and because she stood up. She stood up and she fought for us. And there's many other women like that in this country. Now, the reason why I mentioned this particular sister is because when I was at her funeral service, it was a powerful funeral service. And we know that we don't attend funerals to mourn the dead.
Go ahead.
We attend funerals to celebrate life. to celebrate life. The Honorable Minister Farrakhan said that the life serves death, death serves life.
Yeah.
So in every death, there's a lesson for the living. And when my sister, her daughter, was representing her mother, she spoke so strong of her mother. You could see the legacy being built of that struggle in the sister, her daughter. She spoke about her mother, and when I say the sister spoke so strong, she spoke clearly. Her words were very distinct. You could understand exactly what she was saying, and her spirit consumed her whole body, and it came out when she spoke. And sister spoke about the indomitable spirit of her mother. And when she said it, it sent like, it was like a sound wave, and it was just penetrating through the environment, you know, entering into the heart, entering into the mind, entering into the soul. And it rested with me. It rested with me. And it forced me, or it caused me to actually look in the dictionary in terms of what indomitable spirit means, one who has that spirit. And indomitable means invincible, unconquerable, unsurpassable, unshakable, indefatigable, unyielding, unbending, stalwart, stout-hearted.
Yeah.
That's just a few.
Go ahead.
Meditate on that. Where are we in relation to that in this fight that we are facing today? And just to close, before I bring up my powerful sister, stop saying that, she said. Okay. I just want to close out with something, right? Because we are a product of our ancestors, right? And the goal is yet to be achieved. You agree? Let's get some agreement going. Okay. There is a poem by Langston Hughes. You know Langston Hughes? And this poem is called The Negro Mother. Now, that was written obviously at a time
Yes.
when we had not yet fully grown up into our identity. We were evolving, you know, out of, when you listen to this poem, out of the mind, you know, there were those, you know, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan said, in every generation, there's always someone that actually fights and furthers the cause of the liberation struggle of us as a people, you know, and by extension, when we are liberated, then we liberate the whole world, you know, and there's always someone. So these luminaries of all, these lights of always in the darkest situations that we have been in, there's always these lights, you know, that shine and point out a way for us, you know, even in our, even with, let me say, our shortcomings. Allah still chooses us and uses us despite ourselves for his purpose, because his will is going to be accomplished regardless to whether we help him or not. You know, but the beauty about today is that we are being offered, you know, to help. you know, to be a part of the victory and to play our part. So let me just read this quickly. And this is, listen to the words carefully, because this is the cry of mother, you know, generating through the times, you know, in this modern time, 2025. Children, I come back to you today to tell you a story of the long, dark way that I had to climb, that I had to know in order that the race may live and grow. Now, we can swap over these words because we know that we're not a race, we're a nation, right? Look at my face, dark as the night, yet shining like the sun with love's true light. I am the child they stole from the sand 300 years ago in Africa's land. I am the dark girl who crossed the wide sea, carrying, listen to this, carrying in my body the seed of the free. So that germ, that desire for freedom was with our ancestors all the way back, right up until the modern time, because she's speaking to us today. I am the woman who worked at the field, bringing the cotton and the corn to yield. I am the one who labored as a slave, beaten and mistreated for the work I gave. So we're going to skip over that part. Okay, but this is a sacrifice that our ancestors went through,
Yes.
you know. But this mother today is saying, deep in my breast, I had only hope then. But now, through you, dark ones of today, my dreams must come true. And all you dark children in the world out there, remember my sweat, my pain, my despair. Remember my years heavy with sorrow, and make those years a torch for tomorrow. Lift high my banner out of the dust. Stand like free men, supporting my trust. So our ancestors had trust in us, and had trust in the God, that there would come a time when we would stand up for those who fought, bled, and died for us. That we would stand up, and not just stand up, because there's a particular work that we have to do today. You know, in not doing the same work as our ancestors did, not doing the same work as our mothers and our grand. That work has been done. That work has been done. And we need to, the greatest slave chain that we have today is being economically slaved.
That's right.
We must use our economics. We must use our finances to actually build something for ourselves now. It's about building now. Remember how strong in the struggle and strife that mother was. And she says in this part, look ever upward at the sun and the stars. Who has given us something to look up to in the sun and the stars? We have our flag, which represents freedom, justice, and equality, brothers and sisters. So I pray that what we have said, and we're not yet done because we're going to hear from our sister, right? We don't want her to have traveled all the way from Birmingham and not say something to us today, because sister is our student regional secretary, but she's also a minister secretary. You know, so please, I want to thank you for your attention, and please let us welcome our sister to the rostrum, Sister Sylvina X. Assalamu alaikum.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is one God whose true and rightful name is Allah, and that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. I'd like to greet you all in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Long time. Nice to see you all. A pleasure to be here. We're speaking about mothering, and our sisters have given us a nice broad context to that term mother. And before I go any further, I'd like to thank our regional minister for playing a part in that mothering process where I'm concerned. I was speaking to a brother yesterday in Brixton. No, I can't remember what the next. Okay. And he said something to me, and I said, it's your minister that made me this way. Okay. It's him that made me this way. So of course, you know, we come to Islam with our attributes, we come to Islam with ourselves. We have to value ourselves, something about ourselves. So we bring ourselves to Islam. But once we're in Islam, okay, the process of mothering begins, and it begins with the truth that we engage with. That's been spoken a lot of today, but it also begins with our relationship with the believers. But really, the pinnacle of it, from where I'm concerned, is our relationship with the leadership that the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan has put into place. That's for me where the pinnacle of that mothering rests. You know, so I'd like to thank our brother. He's not here today, but he's here definitely, you know, in spirit, and he's probably watching right now. Okay, for that, you know, that, and I've told him before anyway, but you know, I'm really saying this for the listening audience, because, you know, if we're not engaging with the brother in a particular way that's been offered to us, we're missing out on that process. We're missing out on that mothering process. We're missing out on the growth and development that comes from that process. So I would encourage us all, you know, to think about it and to do what we've come here to do. So we got the title, and we're speaking about mothering. And I had a quote from the Honourable Mr. Louis Farrakhan, and he said, the hand that rocks, no, this is not from him, sorry. This is a popular quote. I'll quote him later. So the quote says, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. Then Minister Farrakhan says, if Satan's hand is on the female that rocks the cradle, then through that hand, Satan then rules the world. Okay. Satan being one that knows good, says whoever it is that knows good, but then uses good to trick people into doing wrong, you know, that then becomes satanic behavior. So Minister Farrakhan said the converse is true, the opposite is true. He says, if Allah's hand is on the female that rocks the cradle, then through that female, Allah will bring into existence a rule, a new world. Okay, so if God's hand is on the female, okay, then through that female, he will bring into existence and rule over a new world. So what kind of female then? How do we know that, you know, that a woman is, how do you know that a woman is touched by Allah? How do we know that Allah has his hand on a particular kind of woman? Well, we're taught that, you know, the whole purpose of being a woman, whether you're registered in the Nation of Islam or not, okay, the whole purpose is of a woman being a woman and really reaching that place where you can own, you know, that title, woman and mother, is that a woman is to be knowledgeable, God-fearing, spirit-filled. Okay, so knowledgeable, God-fearing, and spirit-filled. And that's what we're in the business of, you know, aiming to develop in the Nation of Islam. But that is also a goal, you know, for all women and mothers to attain to. So knowledgeable, what kind of knowledge then should one acquire? And remember, a mother gives birth to something, whether it's giving birth to an idea, You know, I wasn't trying to feminize our regional minister, right? I'm saying like you give birth to things, right? So you give birth to an idea, okay? You know, you give birth to concepts, you give birth to civilizations, you give birth to organizations, okay? So mother gives birth to things. So what kind of knowledge then do we need to pursue in order to be this knowledgeable, God-fearing, spirit-filled woman that will be the basis of Allah's world? Okay, that type of woman can be the basis of Allah's world. Well, the first knowledge is the knowledge of God. And not when I say the knowledge of God, the knowledge of who he is. And once we understand who he is, there'll be no discussion about whether there's a God, whether we should call him this, whether we're into religion, whether we're not into religion. Once you actually know who God is and what his aim and purpose is for you as a woman, there'll be no debate. And the only reason there is a debate is because as women, we don't understand that, okay, yet, okay? But there is, and this is what we aim to do in the Nation of Islam. We want to introduce you to that. Okay, we're not inviting you to, you know, to form part of a body of truth that you just perpetually just in this truth and there's no growth or development. We're trying to connect you with that God who, okay, I'll go into it further in a bit later, but that is the aim, okay? Once you have the knowledge of God, then once we're introduced, I should say, because to have it, you know, it's a journey, right? But once we're introduced to it, then we will understand, and the more we become acquainted with God, we will then understand why it is so important that we spend time nurturing our relationship with God. You know, some people might say, "Why not pray so much?" Yeah, so I pray all the time, so right. But it's because, and prayer is not just about, you know, being on that mat. It's about having your conscious mind on Allah, on God, as much as possible throughout the day. Okay. So once we are introduced to the reality of God and what he means and our relationship to him, then it will no longer become, I don't know, old-fashioned or boring or what's the word, outdated, to then have a focus and want to be a woman of God. Okay. So we talk a lot of, so who is God? I'm not going to tell you who God is. I'm going to tell you an aspect, okay, of who God is. I'm not claiming that title here today, but God is known as, as Muslims, we're taught that Allah has 99 attributes, okay? And we will know if God has his hand on you as a woman, you will know if God has his hand on you if you exhibit certain attributes of his, okay? And I want to just read a few of them. So we say God is the evolver, okay? Al-Bari, the evolver. So you should see yourself evolving and feel yourself evolving from day to day. If that's not happening to you, okay, then Allah's hand is not firmly on you. Okay. Al-Musawwir, the shaper. Okay. I'm coming from long enough, please. Okay, you know what I mean. Okay. The shaper. Okay. So shaping, evolving, Al-Wahhab, the supreme bestower. Okay, bestowing, giving things to you, okay? Giving things to you. So if you don't feel as though you're being blessed, okay, if you don't feel as though you're being blessed, and this goes for brothers as well, okay? It's transferable, okay? What's up? Yeah. So if you don't feel as though you're being blessed, if you don't feel that, God ain't got his hand on you. Okay. Not saying that you're not saying that you're not trying to connect with him, but if you don't feel that and you can't see that, God hasn't got his hand. There's something that we're not doing. Okay. Arafi, the elevating one. Okay, so you're supposed to be able to not only envision yourself being elevated, but also feel yourself, yeah, knowing that if you look back 6 months in your life, you are not where you were. In some way, whether it's your living environment, whether it's your thoughts and processes, whether it's your goals and aspirations, there's something about you is supposed to be elevating day after day. Al-Ba'ith, the resurrector, infuser of new life. Okay, so again, if we're not waking up, Sister spoke about being tired, feeling tired, and looking tired. Okay, so if you are not, when I say new life, I mean that links to motherhood, right? It links to giving birth to things. Yeah, so new life is just not about you being born again and that kind of thing. Okay, it is also about you having that creative aspect to you where you are now bringing forward new life. You are birthing things in your life that are good for you, because we don't just pray and wait. We don't just hope and wait. Yeah. If Allah is the resurrector and he has his hand on us, then we are being resurrected and we should be that manifestation of new life. We have that responsibility. Okay. So that's what we're aiming for. That's only a few of his attributes. That's only, and these are verbs. These are things that, the God does to you when you have that connection with him. Okay, not when you think you have the connection with him or you can talk about your connection with him, but when you have the connection with him, it's true because the things will manifest physically. Our regional minister said to us, it's not actually true, is it? If you can't see it and touch it and hold it, it's not actually true.
Okay.
Does that mean God's not true? No, I can't see God, I can't touch him, I can hold him, but I can do things that can point to and say, that's for me. No, he gave me what I needed to be able to manifest that. You understand what I mean? And that's how we bring forth the reality of God in our lives, by having something practical that we can show, that we can say we use that power that we got from our Creator, to manifest such things. So we talk a lot about mindset. And again, we're talking about, being powerful women. We're talking about qualifying for that title mother. We're talking about really elevating the woman. So I'm trying to give you things that we can work on daily, and things that we can measure. Okay. So with the mindset, if I say mindset, everybody's heard that mindset. Okay. And Mr. Farrakhan says, not with relation to mindset, but when we think of mindset, we think of, positive mindset, negative mindset. Then you have affirmations that you say to work on your mindset and all these different kind of things. We're familiar with that mindset, yeah? Okay, some of them. Okay, so Minister Farrakhan says, and affirmations really, if we're talking about being in that constant, as Minister Farrakhan says, constant contemplation of God, constant contemplation, thinking about, in many different ways. This has to be personal to you, right? But when you wake up in the morning, you can contemplate what it is that you envision that through your relationship with God that you would like to achieve, or at least make a couple steps towards today. And then throughout the day, you contemplate that. And at the end of the day, you're contemplating how much you've manifested any aspect of Allah in your life that day. Okay, so constant contemplation. So Minister says, and Mr. Farrakhan says, prayer and constant contemplation of God binds us to the reality of Allah. It completes our whole existence. It gives our existence credence. This is me speaking, sorry. This part is me. It gives our existence credence and context. So in the contemplation, through this continual contemplation of God, that, this is Minister speaking, this is where we find our purpose. Yeah, this is where we find our purpose. Once you find your purpose, you're gone clear. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're gone. Once you find your purpose, okay, that is where the joy comes. That's where the spirit comes. That's where the energy comes from, because it resonates with you. Yeah, once you find your purpose. That's why sometimes when, you know, when females have a child, sometimes it can take them out of all different types of lifestyles, because now they've got a purpose, and they'll put whether they're, and we're not judging who's the best kind of mother. I'm just saying, yeah, that they have a purpose. So they're doing the best that they know with that child. Yeah. And it's taken them away from whatever it is they would have been doing that would have been much more self-destructive, because they have a sense of purpose. So once we find our purpose, yeah, then we become focused. Then we have a goal that we're working towards, and then we become rigorous about it. Then we become dedicated to it. So, Minister Farrakhan says the reward, and we're talking about building women, we're talking about building men, okay, because it's synonymous, okay. So the minister said the reward for perpetual contemplation of God is perpetual joy, perpetual peace of mind and happiness. That's mindset. That's the mindset that we're all trying to, you know, when you have these, affirmations, I am a queen. I am all of these things that I don't say, but that people say in terms of affirmations. You know what I'm saying? I am successful. I'm this. you know, and these mindset coaches teach you to speak, you know, speak out into the universe what it is you want to achieve. Okay. Well, this is the root of it. This is the root of it. The reward of constant contemplation of God is perpetual joy, peace of mind, and happiness. Okay, now contemplation comes with a lot of other things. Okay, and some of it's been spoken about already. So I'm not just talking about, as I said in the beginning, you only know if something is true. You can only measure your progress if you can actually tangibly see it. Okay, so always keep that in mind. I'm not trying to speak like theoretically about it. Okay, but a lot of the work in order to develop ourselves is unseen. It goes on in the mind. It goes on, you know, in that mind. As our regional minister said a couple of weeks ago, he says, we have rebel leadership in the government of our minds, right? Yes. Rebel leadership, okay, in the government of our minds. This is about the process. Now that rebel leadership tells you, no, you can't do that. What do you mean? Do you know what I mean? You can't earn that the money, no, you can't do that. No, you can't get that woman there. Yeah, you understand what I'm trying to say? Okay, that rebel leadership will always either cast doubt upon your righteous aspirations. Okay, there's always an alternative way to get things. There's always an alternative way to get all the things you want. There's always an alternative way to get it. But we're talking about a way that we're talking about a way that contributes towards, and that helps to build in this kingdom that we're talking about, whereby women, men, mothers are able to walk around with this perpetual feeling of joy, happiness, and peace of mind. Okay, and you can't have joy, happiness, and peace of mind with just having a conversation. You got to have some things in your life that bring that. You understand? You got to have financial resources. You got to have, you know, a decent home. You've got to have decent, all of these things that they can't be achieved without the physical things. So, thank you. Right, so we're speaking about women again now. Teaching, we say, you know, Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is aiming to produce cultivated, refined, educated women. Like, who doesn't want that? Like, who doesn't want that? Because that's where the success lies. That is where we are, as mothers, we are able to mother not only our children, but to have that energy, if you like, of mothering, whereby we can put things out there that will outlive us, okay? So we're talking about putting things into people, putting things into our children, putting things into the people that we have conversation with, that will take on its own momentum,
Yes.
and will long outlive us and grow into something far superior than we even ever could have imagined. That's the kind of mothering I'm talking about. So cultivating to prepare, or to prepare for use. Minister Farrakhan says we're overcome by the cares of this world and can only take the time to do what is necessary to survive. Okay, we strive to do what is expedient to get ahead. Okay, so like treading water. Okay, treading water, but everyone's still alive, so we're good. Yeah, I'm still alive, but actually, I'm not going nowhere fast. Okay, we're not dead, we're living, but we're not going anywhere fast. Okay, that's not what it's about. Okay, so when we're talking about cultivating and preparing, okay, we're talking about really things that we need to do, things that we need to take seriously. Sister Maxine mentioned dissatisfaction. I was having a conversation with Minister Abdul Hakim, and he was talking about dissatisfaction. He said, are we really dissatisfied? Okay, and the answer was, remember that? Okay, and the answer was no. Okay, people tried to justify their case and all of this, but the answer was no. Because when you're dissatisfied with something, you do something about it. Or you do something about it. And you do something about it regardless to what it takes. And depending on the urgency, be careful how I say this, depending on the urgency of your dissatisfaction, thinking I say this. Yeah, I know what to say, but I have to be careful how I say it, okay? So depending on the urgency of your dissatisfaction, you may step out of the bounds of what you would normally do to fix that dissatisfaction. You understand what I mean? So are we really dissatisfied? Not really. Learn to cope, tread in water, okay? Learn to cope. That's the mode that we're in. We're learning to cope, okay? Where Vanessa said what we're doing what's expedient, okay? We're taking care of the necessary things to survive, okay? That doesn't necessarily equate to dissatisfaction. That equates to coping mechanisms. Dissatisfaction gets you out of where you are, yeah? So an educated woman, so again, Minister Farrakhan says, the proper education is the cultivation of our gifts and talents through the acquisition of knowledge. What knowledge? First and foremost, this is me speaking, the knowledge of God, the true knowledge of God. Our minister, regional minister said, he says we're pursuing power. He said, if we accepted the power the God has already given to us, we'd be much more humble in this life. Humility, meaning, when someone's humble, they're so secure that they don't need to brandish whether it's the money that they have or the position that they have. They don't need to do that, okay? Because humility is really an outward expression of your peace of mind and your self-satisfaction, okay? So he said, if we accepted the power that he has already given to us, we'd be more humble, okay? So, educated, So he said that so the cultivation of our gifts and talents, that makes the assumption that we already have them. Okay, not to say that we can't study a course and, you know, and find things, you know, not say that we can't do that, but it does presuppose that we already have them. And the question really is how many of us have reached, because if we're acquainted with God, you soon get to realize that you have them. And if you're doing his work, then you will actually start to see them. Okay, so when you're not doing his work and you're not engaged in regional matters, or that's the believer, you know what I'm trying to say, and or if you're not engaged in actively pursuing not only worthy goals for yourself, but goals that will help to elevate others around you, your gifts are going to stay hidden. Even major corporations have realized the benefit of giving back. Okay, they all have this aspect to their company where they now give back. You know, National Lottery Fund now is giving back. Okay, even they no, but it's true. Everyone understands. Even they understand the divine the divine principle of reciprocity. Okay, so unless we're actively doing something like this, it's going to be very difficult for us to even see, much less mine, to even know that our gifts and talents exist. And it starts there. And until we even begin to recognize as women our gifts and that we have them, first that we have them, then we begin to get a glimpse of them, then we can forget about purpose and mothering with purpose and, you know, being someone's partner with purpose. We can forget about that because we don't even know what our gifts and talents are. And as our regional minister said, if we knew the power that he had already placed within us, yeah, we'd be much more humble, much more content. Okay. So, and the last thing was, no, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to move on a bit. I'm going to move on a little bit. Okay. No, I'm not going to say. Okay, refined. The last thing was a refined woman. Okay, a refined woman. So refined is free from impurities. Okay. Now, of course, you know, when we're talking about food, we don't want unrefined food. We're not talking about food. We're talking about a woman. Okay. So free from impurities, and the synonyms are advanced, developed, evolved. Okay, the evolver, one of the attributes of God. Okay, so evolved, higher, improved, progressive, excessively careful and detailed. Okay, that kind of one. Sometimes that kind of woman can get Panama nerves, right? Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Okay, but that, you know, we need men that can handle that. Yeah, we need men that can handle that. Yeah, we need men that can handle that. Yeah, we need men that can handle, in order for this partnership to take place, we need men that can handle a cultivated, refined, educated woman. Yeah, not to say that there won't ever be not to say that the woman will be faultless and, you know, everybody has their shortcomings in some way, right? But I'm saying, in essence, that's what the woman is, that's what a woman is. And we need men that can handle that. Because sometimes what attracts you to that women can actually end up putting you off the same woman. If you're not on that process at the same time. If you're not on that process at the same time and you can't at least level up with her, right? No man wants to be a pet, yeah? Where you're, you know, and I hope no woman wants a pet, okay? Who, you know, you feed, you know, they're happy to see you when you come home. You spend some quality time with them. That's a pet, right? So, So, you know, and in the same vein, you know, we want men that we can also look up to. So as a man, if you're not at least able to level up with this type of woman, then the relationship breakdown begins, I believe. Because then she thinks she a talk to. And yeah, she better than me. You understand? Them kind of things come in. Because, you know, your manhood has to stay intact. And certain things like this about a woman can interfere with your idea of what manhood is or masculinity is. And that's never the aim. But if we're talking about this type of woman, it's to really think about the kind of man that, you know, can handle this type of woman. Okay. Handle by example, handle by showing what you do in life, not angler, yeah? Not that kind of anger, brother Maurice, yeah? Not that kind of anger, yeah? So I'm not saying it. It's just your face I'm looking at, yeah? But handle, okay? So it is time, it's 1 o'clock now, it's time. So,
Wait.
out of this expression out of this pursuit, and I would encourage you to really get to know who and what God is, because this new world that's being spoken of, this, you know, new existence that's being spoken of, that's already been said actually exists. If you're not on that frequency, we will miss it. And it's people that are living in that space of happiness, of persistent joy. It's people that, you know, in that active place of being able to assimilate, mirror, that's the word, mirror the aspect, mirror. When we say mirror God, mirror Allah, what we mean by that is that you can be a creator, you are a bestower, you are an evolver. You're not only evolving yourself, you're evolving others. So that's what we're talking about when you want to mirror the God. Okay, and that is the aim. So imagine if all of us in here were able to say, I'm actually there in some kind of a way, you know, I'm mirroring this and this and this and this shows, yeah, that I'm mirroring the gods. Then that's we make up that new world, right? Yeah, that's it. We make up that new world. That's where now all the power, the humility that comes with great power. One must have great humility before you misuse it. All of that comes from the people. We make the new world. It's not something that's going to fall down from the sky. So I'm going to leave it now because I've come to my time. But I do hope, on behalf of our regional minister and the sisters that spoke today, that you have come away with something of worth. There's one thing that I'm going to say something. Okay. No, I'm not going to leave it. No, I really wanted to say, but I'm going to leave it. Okay, so I'd like to leave you as I found you in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
So just be seated just for a few moments before we close out today, brothers and sisters. So wasn't that wonderful? All praise God be to Allah. Again, we just want to thank our student regional minister, Brother Abdul Hakim Mohammed, because the whole concept of Sister Super Sunday was birthed in his mind. And periodically we've been delivering these messages on a Sunday. So you have an opportunity to hear from sisters in the Nation of Islam, and we work hand in hand with our brothers, to strive to build a great nation for us as a people. And we invite you to join. We invite you to join on, brothers and sisters, to your own. Accept your own and be yourself is the greatest gift that we could be given in this life. you know, because we have been other than ourselves for so long, you know, and we have now been given and offered a gift in the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the teachings of the Most Honourable Elijah Muhammad. So any one of you that are in the listening audience and you're in the European region, any one of our guests here today, if you would like to be a helper, you know, and like to learn more about the Nation of Islam and our work here and to join on to the Nation of Islam, please see our Student Regional Secretary, Sister Sylvina. The brothers can speak to Brother Captain, Brother Jeffrey, who's at the back there, and, you know, we'll get you rolling, you know, because this train is on the track and it's moving, you know. All praises are due to Allah. So on that note, we are going to close out now. So I'm just going to invite our brother Edwin to close us out in prayer.
Alaikum, brothers. Prayer time, please. As a refuge in Allah from Satan the affairs. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Praise be to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. Master of this day of judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we serve, and thy will we see. O Allah, guide us on the right one. The path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed favor, not the path of those upon whom thy wrath is brought down, and of those who go to stray without great future. Amen. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters.